What is going on, beautiful people of the world? My name is Garrett Wolf, and I am the host of the #1 podcast for people who are trying to go from skinny fat to fitness freak. I've built my body over the last 8 years through trial and error, and in the last 3 years, I've helped hundreds of online clients shred unwanted fat and embody the best version of themselves. Now, let's jump right into today's show.
What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to the Garrett Wolf podcast. This is the #1 show for people who are trying to go from saggy flabs to six-pack abs, all without giving up the most enjoyable aspects of their life. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about how my brother called me the fuck out the other day. All right, so if at any point during this episode you enjoy what I have to say or you think what I have to say is valuable, then please screenshot my face, share it to Instagram stories, tag me at _Garrett Wolf, and I will reshare it to my story and send you a free gift. So, guys, I want to ask you all a question. So if you're tuning into the live stream, let me know in the comments, or if you're watching the replay, just kind of nod your head along if this is something that's ever happened to you in particular. So, have any of you ever had a goal or a dream, vision, ambition, whatever you want to call it, but you lacked the motivation to get it done? Let me know if you're tuning into the live or if you're on the replay, if you've ever had a dream, a goal, an ambition, something you wanted to get done, but you lacked the physical motivation, the actual drive to get it done. Because this is something that a lot of people have asked me about when it comes to a fitness journey, when it comes to working out, when it comes to getting a goal done in general. People often struggle with motivation. People often struggle with having the drive, the force, the energy to actually get it done. And I think this has a lot to do with buying into yourself, a lot to do with buying into your goals. How do you buy into your goals? There's a lot of different ways. You can invest into a mentor. That's one way. You can put something on the line, like something that you love. You can kind of buy in by doing more action steps in real life to kind of get you rolling into positive momentum. Or one thing that I like to do is you can be incredibly vocal about your goals. You can tell everybody about your goals, tell everybody about your dreams, so that if you kind of don't follow them, if you don't do your dreams, if you don't do what's necessary to accomplish your goals, then they will call you the fuck out. And this is something that kind of happened to me the other day, because diving a little bit deep into the past 2 weeks, basically I live with my dad and stepmom, right, in this house. This is my room here where I run the podcast. And over these last 2 weeks, they've been away on vacation. They were on a cruise ship, so they were having a whole lot of fun. They were going on like a world tour cruise kind of thing. So they went to like Greece, Rome. They went to the Colosseum. I'm super jealous. Obviously, they got to see all this cool stuff. And in any case, I was here at home running the podcast as usual, running my business, running the studio, doing everything I usually get done. And then the other day, about, I think it was 4 days ago, they came back. They came home. And they were chilling. They were just at home doing their normal thing, just being average, being normal. And I ran the podcast as usual. However, I run into a little bit of imposter syndrome. I run into some confidence problems, and I run into a little bit of anxiety when it comes to speaking in front of my family in particular. So, this brings me to my story where my brother called me the fuck out. So I ran my podcast as usual. I did my best to break through that barrier. I tried to just speak. I tried to just breathe. I tried to just, kind of just break through it, break through the barrier, break through the wall. And I did my best, right? I did my absolute best. And then 2 days later, after that podcast was posted, my brother hops into my DM. So I hopped into the Discord with him, and he's like, "Yo, I got a bone to pick with you about your newest podcast." And I was like, oh shit. I was like, no fucking way. What is it? What do you got to pick? What do you got to say? He's like, "It seems like you were a little bit more anxious. Seems like you were a little bit more quiet, a little less amped up than you usually get during your podcast." And I was like, holy fuck. Like, you really noticed? Like, it really shined through that much? It was really that obvious that I was anxious and nervous? And I just wasn't giving my 100% to the podcast. And he was like, yeah, dude, like it was super obvious. That episode in particular was 100% not like any of the other ones. You were timid, you were laid back, not really being vocal about your goals. And so he called me the fuck out. And so this episode, I want to dedicate myself to being fucking vocal about my goals, because we're talking about buying into your goals. We're talking about getting the motivation, getting the drive to actually get something done. And there's obviously multiple ways to do this, but one of my favorite ways, because it's free of charge, doesn't cost you anything. It just costs you sweat equity, right? So one of my favorite ways to buy into your goals, to actually give you the motivation, to give you the drive to want to move forward, is being incredibly vocal about your goals. So in this episode, I want to dedicate myself to being vocal about my goals, because I've already dedicated myself to doing a podcast live every single day, and that's why we're here. And they are home now, just so you know, just to be fully transparent. They can hear me, so we are already putting the steps in motion. But one thing I'm a little bit worried about here, and this is why I want to dedicate myself to being vocal about my goals, is we have a couple coming over. These two friends of my stepmom, I think they went to college together or something. They're coming over to stay for the weekend for like 3 or 4 days. I'm not exactly sure how long they're staying, but I was getting a little bit worried. I was getting a little bit anxious that I wouldn't be able to run my podcast, right? Wouldn't be able to run the podcast because I have this kind of fear, this little bit of anxiety of talking in front of people, right? And so I was kind of scared. I was in my head a little bit today. I was like, what am I going to do with the pod? Like, I'm going to kind of not either not do it, or I'm going to have to figure something out. And then I was like, wait a minute. Hold on a second. It would be incredibly easy for me to blame this couple for me not being able to run my podcast, right? But if you really think about it, if you dive into it, if you brainstorm a little bit, they actually have absolutely nothing to do with the podcast. They're not on the podcast. It's not like they're guest speakers. They're not stopping me from running it. It's not like they're telling me, don't run the podcast, you're interrupting our day. It's 100% me stopping me, getting in my own head, getting in my way of accomplishing my own goals. So that would be 100% on me. And we're talking about buying into our goals. So what do you need to do to get around this? You need to break through the barriers. You need to stop. I need to stop getting into analysis paralysis, stop overthinking everything. It would be really, really easy for me to blame it on them and be like, yo, sorry guys, we got guests. I can't run the pod this week because we got guests. So unfortunately I can't talk in front of them, right? I can't speak in front of them, but that directly would not be their fault. That would directly be my fault. And that would directly be me getting in the way of my own goals. And we're talking about buying into your goals here. So I'm curious, for the people watching the pod or the people watching the replay, is there any moment in your life that you can identify where you thought there was a barrier or an obstacle in front of your way when you're trying to accomplish a goal? But if you brainstormed or actually dived a little bit deeper into it, it was actually you that was stopping you from accomplishing your goal, not this barrier. It was you that was kind of creating the barrier for yourself, because we're talking about motivation and buying into your goals. And I think a lot of people hop into my DMs and they're like, yo, I lack motivation to do this. Like, I have this goal, I have this dream, but I just don't have the motivation or the drive to get it done. And I'm like, well, that's kind of interesting, because you dive into that a little bit. You don't have the drive to get it done, or at least that's what you're saying. You've created this fabrication in your mind that you don't have something necessary to accomplish your goal. Something necessary to accomplish your goal, which is directly a barrier that you've created in your mind, stopping you from accomplishing your goal. And it's exactly what happened to me. And so I want to dedicate myself to running the pod every single day. I'm not going to stop the pod. I'm going to run it every single day. I'm going to be live every single day over these next 4 days. And I'm going to break through that fear of talking in front of people, because that's the only way. And we're talking about buying into your goals. So how can you, I'm asking you, how can you buy into your goals? Maybe today you wanted to go to the gym, you want to get something done, you want to get a fitness journey started, but you're like, I just don't have the motivation, I don't have the drive. That is a barrier fabricated, a fabrication of your subconscious, because your subconscious is trying to keep you the person you are, because you don't physically believe you are capable of embodying the person that you want to be. Think about that for a second, right? That's what therapy is all about. Talk about therapy for a second, because that helps a lot of people. In therapy, all you do is dive into your barriers. All you do is dive into your mindset and dive into your childhood and figure out why it is that you think that you can't get this thing done. And what it is, I'm telling you, is it's the subconscious mind trying to keep you the same as you are now because you don't physically believe that you are capable of becoming the person that can accomplish the goals that you want to accomplish. So what are you waiting for? Get yourself to the gym, get yourself accomplishing those goals, get yourself doing it, and then you'll quite literally believe you're the person capable because you're the person doing. Actions speak louder than words. There's this quote, let me see if I can remember it word for word. It's easier to act yourself into a new way of thinking than it is to think yourself into a new way of acting, right? And this is 100% true. I can't just today be like, yo, I'm a pop star. Right? Yo, I'm a pop star or I'm a rapper. Like, I'm a singer. I'm a performer. I just don't believe it. I've never done any of those things. I've never been a pop star. I've never been a rapper. I've never been a performer. My brain, my consciousness does not believe that I'm a pop star or a rapper or a whatever the fuck, right? But if I stepped on stage and I rapped, if I stepped on stage and I sang, even if it was absolute dog shit, I would finally believe that I'm a rapper or that I'm a singer or that I'm a performer, because it's easier to act yourself into a new way of thinking than it is to think yourself into a new way of acting. So stop getting caught in this analysis paralysis. I'm talking directly to you, but I'm also talking to myself. Stop getting caught in this fucking cobweb of analysis paralysis, of overthinking this bullshit, overthinking your dreams, overthinking your goals. You'll never be able to think yourself into a new way of acting. You can only act yourself into a new way of thinking. And that is why I'm thankful that my brother called me out. I'm thankful that he noticed. I'm thankful that he said something, because now I can dedicate myself to really moving forward. I can dedicate myself to running the pod, breaking through these barriers, and finally getting over the anxiety of talking in front of people. So that's what I'm doing. I'm dedicating myself to running the pod anyway. I'm going to be here every single day over these next 4 days, and I'm going to be here every single day indefinitely until I decide that I have broken through my anxiety of public speaking, of talking in front of people. Because again, I was incredibly anxious to go on live streams in front of my Instagram for the longest time. We have about 25,000 followers now. And frankly, that's fucking terrifying. That's incredibly scary to talk in front of that many people, but it's getting easier and easier. This is episode 26, and we're breaking through the barriers because we're acting ourselves into a new way of thinking. And that's how you get over all these, I don't want to really get into mental illnesses, but that's how you get over a lot of these mental illnesses like anxiety and depression and all these things, is if you break through the barriers, if you act yourself into a new way of thinking, then you will succeed. But you cannot think yourself into a new way of acting. Our brain is not that powerful. Our brain is a machine that wants to keep you the same. Our brain does not want you to change because our brain associates change with death. Our brain loves safety. It's trying to keep our body alive, and that is its number one goal. And that is why it is so hard for you to think yourself into a new way of acting. Rather, you need to get over your analysis paralysis and act yourself into a new way of thinking. So that's pretty much it, guys. In other news, I'm going to be doing my first posing session today. If you didn't know, we're 9 weeks out from the Alpha Elite Summer Shredding event over in Texas. I'm super fucking excited. We got our first posing session today coming up in just about 30 minutes from now with my coach. We're going to be hopping on FaceTime, and I'm going to be practicing posing, which is hilarious because I have no idea what to expect. I don't know what he's going to make me do. We're going to kind of come up with a posing routine that kind of suits my body, that fits my kind of swag, it fits my character, fits my kind of movement patterns, and I'm excited to see what we come up with because I've always loved posing. I've always posed in the mirror. I've always been all about aesthetics. So I have some things in mind, but we'll see what he has to say, and I'm really excited about it. So I'm going to be getting ready for that. And other than that, guys, that's been the pod. I hope you guys got some value. I hope you can break through some barriers today. If you did get value, screenshot my face, share it to Instagram stories, tag me at _Garrett Wolf, and I will reshare it to my story and send you a free gift. Other than that, guys, I hope you have the best day ever, and I will see you all in the next podcast episode. Peace.
Thank you so much for tuning in today. Hopefully you got some value. If you did get value and you want to learn a little bit more about how you can go from skinny fat to fitness freak, just head over to my Instagram at _Garrett Wolf and DM me the word muscles, and I'll reach out to you and see if I can help. Again, thank you guys so much for tuning in today, and I will see you all in the next episode. Peace.